Hello, this is Tom's Movie Review Spoiler Show on the Era of Zara YouTube channel. I'm Tom, and I want to thank you all for tuning in today. And I also want to thank all of you who, over the last month since this YouTube channel and its various playlists and shows have started running, for all of you who have tuned in. I really appreciate it. And if you want to continue watching one of our various shows, I have a Batman v Superman news show, because that movie is still about 18 months away, and there's new stuff, it seems like, every day. My friend Claire and I have a new movie review show called The Blonde, the Asian, and the Movies They Love, spoiler reviews. We've done 2 of those. We watched Footloose, and then we just recently watched Hook. And then I have my own solo movie review spoiler show, which you're tuning into, which is Tom's Movie Reviews. And we have reviewed the original Batman with Michael Keaton, the 1989. And now, today, for this after show, we are going to review its sequel, Batman Returns, also starring Michael Keaton. For those of you who are, as you can tell, obviously I'm a big Batman fan. I'm going to start an after show for the Gotham TV series. It looks pretty good. We'll have to see. The reviews from Comic-Con, who got to see the pilot, said it was pretty good. A little heavy, apparently, in the fact that all these criminals used to know each other in Gotham, but apparently the showrunners have said that they're only doing that to introduce people, and then afterwards it's not going to be like they're always just a clan the entire time. But anywho, back to the thing. We are going to review Batman Returns, which came out in 1992. Stars Michael Keaton as the Dark Knight, Michelle Pfeiffer in the role of Catwoman, and Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Now this, again directed by Tim Burton, also starring, what's his name? Christopher Walken, that's it. Yeah, Christopher Walken as Max Schreck. So, we'll go through a little bit of the like with the other Batman review, we'll talk a little bit about the movie, the basic synopsis and plot stuff. We'll talk about things that we like, things we don't like. Just as a little bit of a level setting, I remember my parents taking me to see this movie for my 7th birthday. Now, granted, they did not know how dark and twisted and weird this movie was when they went to see it. Took us to see it. I remember, so my birthday's in July. This movie came out in June. I remember I was such a big Batman fan. I had the sheets. I remember that McDonald's had all these commemorative cups and jugs and mugs when you could supersize. All these toys. And I had all this Batman stuff. And I got to see the movie because my parents were like, well, it's a PG-13 movie. It's too old for you. You're going to have to wait to see the version on television, which is going to be edited and everything. So, anywho, the movie is really dark, very weird. Obviously, they just after the success of the first Batman film, they just let Tim Burton make whatever movie he wanted. It looks like they just greenlit whatever. So it starts off with the Cobblepot Mansion. I believe the names of the Cobblepot parents officially are Tucker and Esther Cobblepot. They are played by Paul Reubens, who's known as Pee Wee Herman, and Diane Salinger. So they're a very wealthy couple, similar to the Waynes. It kind of builds it up a little bit, and it opens up with Mr. Cobblepot waiting outside the bedroom as his wife is giving birth, and then you hear the baby cry and scream and such, and then the doctors are screaming, so the dad rushes in and the dad wails, and because they've given birth to the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, who's this mutated, weird-looking thing with hands that go like this, and he's got like the beaked nose, and he's got the teeth and whatever. And this is a really terrible thing because they keep the kid in a cage. The Penguin, you get the impression that it's essentially Rosemary's Baby because I remember watching it and the Penguin eats the cat when it's in its cage. It's really weird. So the Cobblepots mortified of their child and everything like that, they toss their kid into the sewers of Gotham. So it's like evil Moses kind of thing. They put the kid in the basket and toss him down the river, and then that's when the trailer's starting to follow the basket through the sewers of Gotham, and then it's found by the Penguins. So, anywho, the flock of penguins rescue the baby and then raise him. 33 years later, the child, he's fast forwards now 33 years, and the penguin kidnaps Matt Schreck, played by the great Christopher Walken. And the penguin's plan is to blackmail him into helping him come back to Gotham, kind of like a prodigal son sort of a thing, and he blackmails Schreck with all this material of the toxic chemicals he's been pouring into the system and environmental stuff, the fact that he may have murdered somebody, all these other corporate blackmail pieces to blackmail Schreck into helping him come back to Gotham. We are also introduced, and Schreck is kind of a competitor to Wayne. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail, but they're clearly just prominent businessmen within the city of Gotham. Max Schreck has a secretary played by Michelle Pfeiffer, Selena Kyle. She's got the big glasses, she's klutzy, she stutters, she's kind of almost like a Clark Kent in a way, but she's the sweet secretary to him. And while doing her job and everything, she accidentally discovers after the hours that the new power plant that Schreck wants to build actually will be pulling power from other areas of Gotham and then funneling it back to the power plant, and then which will create more dependence on his own plant. So it's one of those things that it's just kind of like it's a way for him to monopolize the market a bit, is what I understood. Schreck kind of is just like, who would you tell about this? And she doesn't say anybody, and he kind of threatens to push her out the window, and he goes, aha, gotcha, I gotcha. And then he really throws her out the window, and she falls, and she pushes her out the window, shows that she doesn't tell anybody. She dies. I mean, she looks dead. She falls really hard. She falls, hits the ground, and then this is really weird. I mean, this is almost like film noir, or kind of like a performance, not performance art, but just kind of a. It's just a weird sort of a thing, because Michelle Pfeiffer's laying there in the snow, and all of a sudden all these cats just kind of like flock to her like hyenas would over a corpse, and they start like chewing on her and licking her and just eating her and kind of like just whatever, and then her eyes pop open. It's like they're infusing their power into this woman's body. So that's pretty weird. She returns home and kind of suffers a breakdown after everything she's been, and she creates her cat suit out of leather. She kind of like destroys her place. She just kind of goes manic nuts and breaks everything, and like I think at one point she's putting like her stuffed teddy bears down the garbage disposal. I mean, she just goes insane. So the penguin and this is what's so ridiculous, is that the penguin doesn't really. I mean, throughout this whole thing, we have, and then at one point, going back, the Batman. This movie is doesn't have a whole lot of Batman in it, which is really weird. But then there's at one point the motorcycle gang kind of look like clowns and stuff like that. The circus gang is in the movie, and they attack Gotham, and they turn on the bat signal, and what I thought was kind of cool, but in hindsight you're like, that seems flawed, which is like when the bat signal goes off in Gotham City, all these other smaller bat signals across Wayne Manor turn on to alert Batman in his big house that the signal's on. So if he had a party and then the bat signal went on and then they all turned on, that'd be a little weird. Kind of blow the identity thing. But anywho, Batman shows up, rolls up, beats the gang, saves Selina Kyle. This is before she had turned into Catwoman. This Batman is also really weird and dark a bit. He was in the first Batman, he was too, but this Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman and the Tim Burton Batman, this Batman kills people. In one scene, the guy's got a bomb or something, or Batman takes a bomb off something, and he's kind of walking with it, and he's like, I think he's going to try to throw it in the river, kind of a la Adam West, can't get rid of a bomb kind of a thing. But then he puts it, there's this real big guy that he tries to knock out, and he can't do it, so then he just puts the bomb in his waistband and puts him in a hole, and it blows up. So I mean, that guy's probably dead. So this Batman kills people, and then he kind of comes in, saves the day. Gordon and him talk, where it's really weird because Batman doesn't really acknowledge Gordon. Gordon's just kind of walking on, thanks for saving the day again, Batman, and Batman kind of essentially just gives him the finger and ignores him. But going back, sorry, that was before the whole Selina Kyle piece. I apologize. My notes got all mixed up. But anywho, after she becomes Catwoman, the Penguin sends out henchmen to kidnap the mayor's baby, and in that moment, the circus gang the guy takes the kid, dives into a hole, and then the guy goes, "Oh my God, it's the Incredible Penguin Man!" And then the Penguin comes rising up out of the sewer, holding the baby to become the hero in the PR state in the public eyes. And at first, Batman or Bruce Wayne is a little bit suspicious of the Penguin, but then there's a scene where he's kind of like, because the Penguin kind of does this PR stunt and then says that, I want to know who I am and I want to know why I was thrown away, what happened to me, I'm an orphan. And, Bruce Wayne sort of relates to that, obviously, being an orphan himself, but then later on he gets suspicious when he does find out, obviously, that he's the leader of the Red Triangle Circus Gang, who has been committing these crimes, as well as staging the kidnapping thing. So Batman goes through and decides to protect Gotham from the Penguin. Then the Penguin finds out that his parents are dead, and under the guise of searching all the public records, the mayor gives him access to the public records because he says he wants to find out who he is, what his name was, why, try to find his parents and everything. So he gets all that, and he's doing this research. And there's this scene where Batman is just kind of trolling along, doing patrols in the Batmobile, and you see him staring at the Penguin, who is in the in the library, public records, writing and doing research and whatever. So Penguin, again, being a media circus, following him everywhere, Penguin finds out that his parents are dead, and that he, and he gets a lot of public sympathy. Max Schreck sees this public sympathy and decides to launch a campaign to make the Penguin the mayor of Gotham City because the current mayor won't approve Max's power plant. This is the whole plot of the movie. It's essentially the Penguin is going to blackmail Max into getting him back to Gotham and to become a public hero, and Max in turn is going to put the Penguin, use that public support to put the Penguin in the mayor's office so that the Max can get his power plant built. That is the master plan of this film. So anywho, they launch a mayoral campaign. I remember that I was too young to really understand what I was seeing. But this Penguin is gross. He's crude. He's making sex jokes. He's doing a lot of weird stuff in this film. But anywho, so they launched their plan, and then in the middle of it, just so that you don't forget that Catwoman's in the film, Catwoman vandalizes one of Shrek's department stores because she's also wanting revenge on Max Schreck for throwing her out the window. I remember this very classic commercial or whatever like that. Batman and Penguin are staring at each other in the snow, and there's no one. I find it hysterical that in this movie, no one lives in Gotham City. You look at this, and there is no one on the streets ever. There's like 10 people. And for a city that's supposed to be like essentially the New York kind of a thing of this universe, it's incredible that there's no one there, because it's just Batman and the Penguin standing in the middle of an intersection with no one around in front of this big department store, and they're kind of talking back and forth, and he goes, the Penguin's like, I'm gonna be the mayor, doing mayoral things, and then Batman's like, you're not the mayor, and the Penguin in the trailer's like, things change, and then Catwoman comes flipping out of the department store, having made a makeshift bomb of opening propane tanks and then microwaving some metal or whatever, and then it blows up the store. Batman and the Penguin kind of chase after her. The Penguin escapes using his one of his umbrellas that turns into a helicopter. Batman and Catwoman fight for the first time, and Batman pushes her off a roof. I mean, again, this is really dark, because this Batman will kill people. He saves her from going over the roof or whatever like that, and he pulls her back up, and then she knifes him in the side of where his armor doesn't help, like kind of in the love handle area with one of her claws, and he punches her off the roof, and she falls into kitty litter. He didn't know there was kitty litter truck driving by to save her. He could have killed her. So, anywho, the next day, the Penguin and the Catwoman decide to meet and take on a plan to destroy Batman. I remember this from the Penguin doing this in the silhouette. Meantime, for the duality portion of it, Bruce and Selina start a romantic relationship together because they meet on the street. They had met in Max's office a few times, and they decide to start up a romantic relationship. The Penguin and the Catwoman decide they are going to kidnap the Ice Princess, who is just this ditzy blonde who can barely remember to turn on a button. And when they light up the big Christmas tree in Gotham, and they frame Batman, they have a bloody batarang that they have confiscated from an earlier fight, put the Ice Princess's blood on it, and frame Batman for kidnapping the Ice Princess. Batman and Catwoman confront each other on the rooftop, where Catwoman has the Ice Princess strapped to the roof. The Penguin shows up and throws an umbrella, and it opens, and all these bats come flying out, and she freaks out, goes over the roof, falls, hits the button, and inside this gigantic Christmas tree, when it turns on, all these bats get released or whatever. It's like a swarm of locusts attacking the crowd. Batman sees this and gets the police come up or whatever, and they all think that Batman pushed the princess off the roof. They shoot at him, but his bulletproof armor protects him. He then, for the first time, we saw the gliding cape aspect of it, that he has like a hang glider function, so that like there's a frame that shoots out. This is before Nolan, mind you, and that he glides in and kind of guides the bats out of town, and then he gets in his car, and then while Batman was fighting the Penguin and the Catwoman to save the Ice Princess, the Red Circle gang somehow found the blueprints to the Batmobile and put like this weird remote control bug on it so that the Penguin can drive it. I mean, this movie kind of takes a lot of leaps. I mean, this is stupid. But so he's trying to drive away. The Penguin takes control of the Batmobile and is like trying to drive into people and is just messing with him, and then Batman eventually punches through the floor of the Batmobile, takes the bug off, and is able to get away. Because this Batman runs away a lot, which I find is kind of weird. Then we kind of fast forward for a little bit, and during the rampage, also, like, this entire thing, too, is while the Penguin is screwing with Batman and kind of talking to him while he's driving the car for him, it's this moment. It's really, this scene is designed just so the Penguin can tell Batman what his evil plan is, and so Batman can record him saying it. So the Penguin, decides. So then later on, Batman has on a CD the Penguin's confession to all this evil planning and stuff like that, so that when the Penguin is out there to make a speech to the citizens of Gotham for his election, during the election, process, just before the election or whatever, Batman plays it, and then Alfred kind of does this little disc jockey moment where he keeps kind of rewinding it and playing all the worst parts of it. So the citizens of Gotham revolt against the Penguin, throw stuff at him. The Penguin uses an umbrella to block him, kind of in a classic thing. Everyone deserts him, and Penguin is being chased out of town by the mob, and Penguin jumps into the sewers or whatever and escapes. Really, really upset that has all happened. He renounces his citizenship and humanity in Gotham and goes back to being the animal, the Penguin. And he, also kind of a Moses thing, decides that he's going to take all the firstborn sons, like he was, of Gotham, including Max's and the mayor's and everything, and kill them. He's going to kill them all. And, it's really, really dark. So Batman has to come in his Batboat. He's flying through the sewers. When Gotham, when he kidnaps Max's son as well as the mayor's son, he shows up in his big rubber ducky, and at that party, Bruce and Selina meet, and they realize that they are Batman and Catwoman. And then there is this really kind of good scene where they're dancing, and they kind of discover the wounds on each other that they've made in their previous battles, and then the line of mistletoe could be deadly if you eat it, but a kiss can be even deadlier if you really mean it. They realize that there is this great moment where they kind of separate from each other, and then you can see almost like a little bit of the shadow over Bruce Wayne's face that kind of just illuminates just the mouth where the cowl would cover and everything. No, it doesn't cover. And, Penguin, so they look at each other and then they realize, are we going to have to start fighting? And then the Penguin shows up, takes the kids, announces to everyone that he's got the babies, so Batman has to go and get in his batsuit to go get the Penguin. Catwoman also decides to show up. Batman is in his Batboat, and he hacks the remote controls and the radios of all these penguins that he's strapped. The Penguin has strapped bombs to all these penguins to blow up Gotham. And he's sending them through the streets. There's 1,000 penguins, and there's no people in Gotham still, but there's still like 1,000 penguins. And Batman hacks them and sends them all back to the sewers where he is. Batman briefly fights the Penguin and pushes him into the sewers and stuff. They fight above on the ground, and then he falls through a window into the sewers. The Catwoman shows up again. She takes off her mask, reveals herself to Shrek. Shrek shoots her several times and starts using up all of her lives because she has 9 lives. So then she gets down to life. She's lost 7 of them, so she's got 2 left. And Batman pleads with Catwoman to stop what she's doing. He takes off his mask, reveals himself to be Bruce Wayne. Max shoots Bruce in the armor, but he doesn't know that and knocks him out. So Catwoman takes like a stun gun or whatever, and grabs a big electrical wire and blows her and Max up or whatever, so that Batman, while Batman's kind of covering himself with his cape, and then when Batman's looking for her, she finds the burnt corpse of Max Shrek, who looks a little bit like Beetlejuice when he's all blown up, cannot find Selina's body because she used her 8th life. And then the Penguin comes back out of the sewers, but is choking on his own blood, which is black for some reason, God knows why, and all the eternal injuries. And then the Penguins drag his corpse back into the sewers, into the water. That's the end of the movie. It's really weird. Afterwards, Batman and Bruce are driving through town. Again, no one in Gotham, just clear streets or whatever. They see a cat in an alley, or Bruce does, stops the car, finds Selina's cat, steals the cat, takes it with him, and then you realize that, and then they kind of pan up or whatever, because, they kind of go, "Merry Christmas, Mr. Wayne, Merry Christmas, Alfred, and goodwill towards men." And then he looks at his cat and goes, "And women." And then the bat signal shines again in the night sky. meaning the Batman is needed one more time for a new adventure, and then at the very end, as it pans back, you see the back of Catwoman's head, or whatever like that, staring at it, confirming that she is too still alive. So that's in the 20 minutes. That's the movie. It's a really interesting piece. I mean, like, it is still better in my mind than Batman Forever and that terrible piece of crap Batman and Robin. Not as good as the Michael Keaton Batman with Jack Nicholson, obviously because of the Joker, because this villain was weird. I remember, again, as I watch this movie as I'm older, I kind of go, holy God, I mean, I can't, this movie is the reason that Batman Forever came to be, why they fired Tim Burton, kind of, and, Burton, and then they had to go get Joel Schumacher, because they needed to make a family-friendly movie. I mean, this was Batman. Like, the people were expecting, like, kids' toys and stuff, and you got a penguin, mutant creature who's making sex jokes and biting people's noses off, and you've got he's trying to kill all the firstborn sons of Gotham, and it's way too dark. So they decided to go lighthearted and made that disastrous piece of crap called the Batman Forever, which at first when I saw it, I was lying to myself that I actually did like the movie. And then the more I watched it, I went, holy God, does this suck? But it looks like an Oscar-worthy film compared to the next film, which is Batman and Robin. So I am going to review both of those films, but it's going to be more of a comic blooper reel kind of a thing, because they're so funny and so bad you can't really look at them critically. You have to just kind of take it with that grain of salt. But anywho, that's Batman Returns. I like it more than other people do. I kind of like the film. I would like to have seen more Batman stuff in there. I thought that the Penguin... I would like to see the Penguin done again in a new film. I thought the late Philip Seymour Hoffman would have been a fantastic Penguin. Paul Giamatti, maybe, but he is, also in the Marvel universe, so I don't know if they'll let him come back for that. Or do something. He would be pretty good. I think Steve Carell could be a pretty interesting Penguin. I want the Penguin from a comic book where there's a version of the Penguin where he is kind of a mafia boss. He doesn't look like a mutant, but he's shorter and he's plumper and everything, but he's kind of the corporate evil version of Bruce Wayne. So he's also multi-millionaire, billionaire, businessman, cobblepot, and then he's got all these connections to the mafia. He's actually an underworld kingpin. He is on the surface kind of like a businessman who has got a lot of respect, but he's more ruthless than Bruce Wayne. He's not compassionate, and I would like to have a Penguin that kind of falls more on that lines, where it's kind of more of a crime thing, a mafia thing. I think that could be kind of cool. Also, I'd like to see I would also just like to see other villains. I don't know. There are some cool villains. I think Hugo Strange could be cool. That could be like a psychological thriller because he's kind of a mad psychiatrist, mad scientist. I don't know if Mr. Freeze can be done correctly. I mean, Arnold was terrible. Just terrible. He was terrible. But I don't know if you could do Mr. Freeze right in real life, but we'll have to see. Maybe. So anywho, tell us what you think about Batman Returns. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you not get it? Do you think it's too long, too short, not enough Batman? Thanks for watching. Sorry I went a little bit longer than I anticipated. Put down your thoughts in the comments section and hit that subscribe button if you please. So this is Tom on the Era of Zero YouTube channel saying thank you for watching, signing off, and why don't you take a look at some of the other channels and shows that we have on our playlist, see if you're interested. And until next time, thank you and goodbye.